Hello everyone, I'm Charlie with Prior Media, and this is part 2 of our Working with X-Pro's Header Builder little mini-series, I guess you can call it. I think it's only a 2-part thing, but maybe it'll take 3, I don't know. I guess we'll see at the end of this recording. So this is where we left off. We had our header that was here, and it still has that sizing problem. If I make it smaller to mobile, right as becoming independent breaks here, there it is. You can see that our menu still kind of does that. We haven't fixed that problem yet. Don't worry, we'll get to it. What we've done, though, is we've improved the header by adding this top bar right here. We have some social media links up here. We've got a city address, we got an address and a phone number and all that good stuff. Things that businesses probably want on the top of their website, I would think. And now we're going to continue with this tutorial. Now, I remember from the past, from the last video, I didn't actually show you how to access this stuff. And I probably should have started with that. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to grab, this is the site. This is what it looks like when I'm logged in anyway, with the WordPress admin bar here. And I can edit this page by just simply hovering over X Pro and going to edit page. But if I want to launch X Pro, as far as all of the features that are concerned, I'm going to hit launch here. And you can see the interface that it gives you now. It says, howdy. What would you like to launch? You can go to the theme options panel, go to the customizer this way. We can launch some templates, which are in active development. So as of the recording of this video, there's not really much in terms of templates. You cannot, I have to reiterate this because there's been people asking me even after I told them, you cannot import the demo themes into X Pro. The demos that you see at Themeco and their display site for the theme, all those demos, they only import into the actual X theme. It does not import into X Pro. X Pro is sort of built in a different framework environment in which those templates will not import. So they are in active development right here in terms of templates for X Pro. So yeah, not really that useful right here. But we're going to go to headers, and there's content, of course, and then footers. And the footer builder is very similar to the header builder. There's just a few extra things that you can do there. So I'm going to go to header for now. I don't know about extra things, just different things. But we're going to go to header. And right back where we left off, this is the Prior Media new. Click edit. And we're right into the editor for this header. So next thing I want to do here is I want to fix this menu. Now this navigation is an element inside this container. So we can see this container, wrong bar, this bar. So we have this container which simply has this image, right? And then we have this container, which has the navigation, right? So this container has a navigation inline, a button, and then there's also a navigation drop-down. Now you'll notice that if I hover over top of the drop-down, you cannot see it. And that's because of the width of my browser right now. So if I reduce my browser width down to about mobile length, actually I don't even need to for this. I'll just go down to laptop length because this menu is, like, again, this is an imported template that's been slightly modified for the purposes of, doing this video. And so this template actually has the breakpoint for the mobile menu to show up at laptop level, which, I guess maybe that's not what I would prefer, but, it is what it is. So this is the little hamburger, and services, web services, looks fine on a laptop, looks fine. I have no major concerns over it. I mean, maybe it's not the best user experience in the world. Might prefer like a drop-down mega menu or something. But for the, whatever, it is what it is for now. What we want to change, though, what we really want to fix, though, is when it's on mobile phones, we want to fix that, right? And there's not really a good way to fix that and still use the same exact menu that we have. So there's 2 ways we can fix it. The first way is we can change the type of menu that's displayed here to something that's a bit more mobile friendly. That's the first way. The second way is we can actually independently control what menu shows up for mobile so that a completely different menu will show up for mobile users. I personally think that way is better. The second way that I just said is better because it allows me to give a presentation that's for mobile users. I can see what pages are most frequented by my mobile users, what pages convert better to mobile users, and I can target those people and target mobile users specifically to those pages directly by making a completely different menu for them. That also is good because sometimes on a mobile phone, this is a personal preference, but if I'm on a website and I go to a menu and I see just this huge list of links in their menu on a mobile phone, I'm not sure, it doesn't really appeal to me all that much. I'm going to sit here and scroll through their menu. I don't want to do that. So if I have a few places where I know I can go, that's probably good. For me as a user, that's probably good. And so what I've done on this site is I've actually made the services page be a page that's all encompassing. It has a presentation that shows all of my services that I offer in one page, and then they can scroll through a page that's got graphics, it's got calls to action and all sorts of things on that page, and mobile users can just see services and they can tap that and go. They don't really want to tab through different, tap this, okay, now tap this, okay, now tap what you want to do. Mobile users don't like to do that, I don't think. So that's one way to do it, and the other way is just to change the type of menu. Let's do both ways, just so you can see the difference. So the first thing I'm going to do, inspect, navigation dropdown. Now we have the home menu. I've gone ahead and I've created a separate menu for mobile. So here's the menu for mobile. I'm just going to choose that menu to show up instead. And now, this is the menu that shows up for them, right? It's a super simple change, but it gets the job done. It's really quick. There's 5 links. They can click our services, and then they get that graphical presentation of all the services rather than having to navigate through the menu. Perfect, I like that. Contact page, I want them to go to the contact page. I could also include just a call right here in the menu, and then they can just tap it to call, but we'll get into that in a better way in a second. And then there's a sign up link. So our homepage, fine, about us, any type of pages you want to highlight, but there's no nesting to the menu for mobile. And I think that's probably, in my personal opinion, that's a better experience for them. So that's one way you can do it. Pretty quick. Now, the other way to do it, of course, is to make a completely different style of menu. So I'm going to take and get rid of the dropdown. Okay, so now we're just left with just our logo. And I'm going to add a new element to this container. And we're going to do, there's navigation modal, navigation inline, which is what we just had. Navigation dropdown, navigation inline. This is what appears on the desktop stuff. Dropdown is what we just had. Then there's collapsed and modal. These are the two that are different. So we can go through each one of these if you want. Let's go to collapsed first. So collapsed, we get a nice little mobile icon right here, and I'm going to go into the inspector for that. And we're just going to change this menu to be, let's go back to the home menu. So same menu as we had on the desktop, except this time it flies out from the side. Much better presentation. Hit services. Oh, I don't want to do that. Whoopsie. Hit this. Okay, it's not going to drop down for me. This is the problem I have with nested menus on mobile and stuff, is that you can't really, like if I click this, it's still going to go. I can't like unnest it, right? And I can't do that on display. I might be able to do that if I save the changes. I might be able to do it outside the editor, but I kind of doubt it. But let's just see if that's the case. So I'm going to take and grab my link, make a new tab. And yeah, now we have both here. That's fine. We'll get rid of that in a second. Let's make it smaller here for mobile right before become independent breaks. There we go. And you can fly out, and you can see see it flies out, but you still click it. So I don't really like how this works. If you don't have this be a link in and of itself, like if you make this to where services is not a link, then it will automatically expand, and that's probably the solution you'd want to do. But if you're going to do that solution, then you can't have services actually be a link on this menu, which maybe that's what you want. Maybe you don't want the services page to be displayed if you click it. Maybe you don't want it to be clickable, so you can edit that menu to not be clickable. But if you're going to do the same menu here and mobile, you're going to have to cater to both. And again, this is more sort of like making my case that making a separate menu is my personal preference. But anyway, so that's one way to do it, right? A whole new menu in your face. That's one way to do it. Let's take a look at the other one. Take away the collapsed one and bring out the modal instead. And then we're going to change it back to the home menu. And now you get this. This is probably my preferred one. Personally, I like this one, but this one doesn't get nested. So the services, so it's the same menu as here. Same menu as this right here. But the services, I'm going to click this, does not get clicked. It does not get a drop down. It doesn't get any type of nesting with this type of menu. You're always top level here. So my personal preference and how this would probably work, and it's all opinion, guys. You can do whatever you think works best. But my personal preference for this menu, how I would probably do it, is I would go like this. I would make a modal So it appears in the middle. And then I would also have this be the mobile menu. That way I get sort of the best of both worlds as far as I'm concerned. I get this better presentation for a menu, I think. And then I also get specific links that are targeted directly to mobile users, and I can convert them easily by just sort of taking them off the page for a second and say, okay, click this. The only part I don't like about this is the only way to exit. Oh, they changed it. Latest update. Nice. Either that or my caching system wasn't working. It used to be that it wouldn't go away. The menu wouldn't go away unless you clicked that X. But now you can tap or click or tap anywhere off of that and it goes away. Cool. Might have been a caching issue before anyway. Okay, now it's still showing up on desktop though. We want to change that. So let's click the navigation modal. Nope, we don't want to do that. We're already inspecting it. So like here's the modal inspector. And now we can go to customize and make sure that it doesn't show up on mobile or on desktop, sorry. So laptop shows up still. You know, I think I kind of want to hide it on the laptop too. Because, I mean, it's still a computer. So let's hide it on laptops, but then we're going to have to make the other menu appear on a laptop. So let's go to navigation inline, customize, and make that appear on desktops. There we go. That actually works okay for me. I can dig that. Yep, that works. So we'll leave the menu in place on laptops. The only problem is the sign up button kind of gets a little, a little collapsed, but these are things we can tweak. These are all tweakable. And then for this device, of course, now these are right up next to each other. Not really digging that. So how about we put a little bit more space here? We learned how to do that in the last video, right? 0.03, I think, probably is good. Cool. Yep, that works for me. And then sign up button goes away entirely. Maybe I don't want that. Maybe I want the sign up button to stick around for a little bit. Let's click the button. Go to customize. And how about we leave it for this size device? Yeah, I don't see why not. Might as well keep it. And then this one is just purely the mobile menu. Okay. And it's a modal, it comes out, services, awesome. Okay, that fixes that problem. Now the final thing I want to show you guys is a way to create a call to action for mobile people that I think will probably convert better than some of the other ways people are doing things. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go to mobile view so we can always see mobile because we're only going to have this showing up on mobile phones. We're not going to have it showing up on tablets or laptops or anything. This is only going to show up on mobile phones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to layout and I would add a new bar, but this is all at the top. Notice that we have this column over here where you can choose the location of where stuff appears, right? So we've been working with stuff at the top. I'm actually going to shift and work with something at the bottom now. And you can see none of the bars we had from before are going to show up here because it's a completely new location. Okay? Add a bar here. Now the bottom can only have a single bar. You cannot have multiple bars at the bottom. And that makes sense. I mean, from a user experience standpoint for your visitors, it makes sense. From a trying to be flexible and customizing my site how I want perspective, I don't know why ThemeCode just didn't unlock this. Probably because they're trying to influence how we design, which I don't really approve of. But maybe it's a design limitation. Maybe there's a coding limitation behind it. In which case, then I'm fine with it. But I understand why they did it, though. So I'm not going to be like, you guys are dumb. You guys are definitely smarter than I am. So here's the bar number 1, obviously. And we're going to add a container to this. And I'm just going to have a single container for now. I might have a second one. We will see. Probably not, though. In this container, we're going to have our first module, and I'm going to choose text. Nice text, cool. Now notice this is going to stay at the bottom of the site the whole time, right? Which might be annoying to some people, but if we make it look good and we make it have good function and we kind of keep it low key and out of the way, it shouldn't be a problem. So take the text, and I'm just going to say, it depends on what business it is. I think for this one, I'd probably just go with need or have questions. Probably just something that says have questions. I mean, I don't know what I would do in this situation. I'm just trying to make a video tutorial here so you guys can see how it works, and that is the important thing. So 1 question mark, have questions. Now this have questions, we're going to change the text color of this. I'm going to make it white, You'll see why in a second. And then I'm also going to increase its font size a little bit. Now, the background for this whole bar, I'm going to change the background. And to change the background, I'm actually going to use a color, or not a color. I'm going to use, let's just choose a different color so you can see the text. See? Now, I'm going to choose an image for the background of this. Right? Now, you can do the same thing for your menus up above and stuff too, but I'm going to use an image for this just because I feel like it. All right? You can choose anything you want, but I feel like it, so I'm going to do an image. And I'm going to choose advanced right here. You notice that only background colors are available by default, right? So I'm going to choose advanced. This is going to give me a background lower layer and a background upper layer. And this is a super cool thing. And we'll look at that in a second. So I'm going to hit, for the lower layer, I'm going to choose an image. It gives me controls to put an image in. And we're going to choose... let's maybe bring this up a little bit so you guys don't have to like look at the bottom of the video screen. Sorry. It is the nature of screen recording. Image. And I'm going to add an image to this. I already have one that I'd like to add, so I'm going to add one in. This is the bottom texture, JPEG. Cool. It's not optimized. It should be better. But notice how it kind of looks cool, right? It's got a nice little texture to it. It's got a gradient. The colors, the image kind of changes as you move through it. I kind of dig it. But let's say the color's off, right? And it is kind of off, right? This color does not match this one. So if we want to change this, normally I'd have to go back into Photoshop and modify it. And for sure, probably the most efficient way to do it as far as the browser is concerned is to go back and modify the actual image itself. But we can, if we want to, in the background upper layer, choose a color. And right away you can see that it's actually modified what this looks like. But I'm going to choose the upper layer. And if I choose a color that's different, let's say I want to modify this color and make it a little lighter, and now it kind of more closely matches, right? Now I have this upper layer, this color that's over top of the image. So I've modified this image with a color overlay, right? And I can make this a little more transparent if I want to bring out more of that texture, and I kind of do. So let's make this a little bit more transparent, but make it a light stronger. So the brighter I make, I can make this more transparent, but make the color brighter, and that will still make it show up with the color change while preserving the texture. It's a little trick that you can learn, a little trick that you can do. So right about there, I think, is what I want. So it's very transparent. The opacity on this is only 16%, but it has about color that kind of matches now. So that works okay. Now, this is a little thick. It doesn't need to be quite this thick. So I'm going to take the bar here, go to the inspector for the bar, and I'm going to choose to have the height dimensions, right here, dimensions. I'm going to choose to have the height be lower. So let's bring this down to being like, maybe like that. Cool. I can dig it. We also can do a shadow if we want to. We can apply like a little 3D effect on this where it looks like it's popping out of the page if we want to. And there's a bunch of different stuff we can do. We can also do scrolling content. We're not really going to get into that in this video, but it's a way of you putting more than just like 2 columns here, and then people can actually like swipe their thumb and like actually scroll through different things. I'm not going to talk, that's a little outside the scope of this video, but you could do it if you wanted to. So layout, back to layout, we have the text element says have questions. So what if they have questions? What are they going to do? Well, obviously they're going to click a button. Let's add a button to this. Now right away we see the learn more. It's really crowded. Now we can choose the container, inspect the container, and we can do the self flex and fill space equally. And now these will always be as far to the right as possible and as far to the left as possible. They will always be as far away from each other as we can get them. And that's great. Now this button doesn't really pop out, right? We need this button to pop. And it's not really doing that. So let's change some of the properties of the button to make it pop. We have all the way over here, text style. We can change the text style. Probably want that to be white. And again, if it doesn't show up properly, if it's like, well, that's not very white, remember to check the transparency setting and make sure that it's up where you want it to be. So there you go. Learn more is now popping like it's supposed to. On interaction though, it's turning black. I don't want that. So let's change the same thing. And maybe we'll do that there. It kind of stays white now. We can also make it change colors if we wanted to. Not going to worry about it. Now, where is the buttons coloring graphic? Oh, duh, it's setup. So over here in the primary setup window, it just says background, and I'm pretty sure that's the color for that's the button color. Yeah, that's the button color. So we're gonna make this button pop. And like blue sounds good and all, but I'm not sure it really pops the way we want it to. Let's make this really bright. I mean, it kind of does, you know? But to make it consistent with everything else, I think probably doing something closer to like that would probably be better. And then on the interaction, we can make it really pop like something crazy if we want to. But that's not that crazy because we have to increase the opacity. And now it's like really wild if we want it to be. There we go. Kind of like, maybe like this. You know, something like that. And now this button, what we're going to do is I'm going to change the link to this rather than, because this is on a mobile phone, right? Rather than having this be a link to like a contact page or something like that, I'm going to make this a phone number. So I'm going to come to the link section here, choose phone, and change this to a phone number. 989-545-1323. Boom. And that we'll call prior media. Yeah. Now, of course, it says learn more. That's not really specific on what's going to happen. So let's scroll over here until we get to the text setup and change the text to say call now. There we go. We could also have it show the phone number so that it's in their head, and that's probably a better approach, is to always show the phone number. Now, we can also have the secondary text. Let's see what that looks like. If I go... I'm already thinking I probably won't like it, but let's just see. Is it not gonna... Oh, it resetted itself, didn't it? Sure did. 451323. Call now with the phone number linked in. I don't like that. I think that's probably not what I want. So let's get rid of that, and then we're gonna change call now to call. We'll do like a format for it, like we do in the United States. I don't know if they do this around the world. They format their phone numbers like this, but it's kind of how we've been formatting our phone numbers, so that's how we'll do it. Now, we have this other problem right now, and that is that this button is now too big. It's taking up too much space, right? So we probably want to fix that. We can also do a text margin and like reduce the text margin. So that would reduce the amount of space that the button has to accommodate the text. So we can do something like, let's unlink these so that we're not doing the same thing. So let's go back to 5. That's too big. Actually, we could overflow this a little bit. We can make it kind of come up above the border. That might actually look okay. It might look okay if we did it deliberately, you know? If I take away the text margins here, then I can remove some of the margins on the left and right. If I can get back to where it was, yep. Let's remove this, make this 0. Remove this, make this 0. And now we have a have questions, call. The button still looks pretty good. And we've removed some of the text margins on the left and right for the button. So basically the button is going to accommodate less space on the left and right for the text. And it's going to make the text closer to the edge of the button, which is totally fine with us because it also makes the button less, you know, it doesn't make it stick out as much. So there's room for have questions. But have questions is probably just a tad bit too big. So let's click have questions, and we can reduce the font size. So let's say 1.5. Yeah. 1.6. Let's get greedy, 1.7. Yeah, that works. 1.7. So that'll work. So now we have this call to action that will always be on the bottom of the mobile site. And that is going to be, I think, a much better converter, much better for our conversion rates and stuff. And this is part of the header. It's not part of the footer. I mean, you'd be like, you know, it's on the bottom, so you think it's the footer, but it's not. It's part of the header. And you can have both at the same time. So now we have a site. Oh, now we have one last problem, and you're seeing it. This bottom bar is showing up everywhere. We don't want that. So let's click this bottom bar, right? And this is the same as going to layout, bottom, bar 1, inspector. But just clicking the bar is the same thing as doing that. And let's go to customize and make sure that this only shows up on mobile phones. Save it. Save the changes with a little tiny, hard to see save button at the very bottom, and we're good to go. Let's go ahead and analyze our site at the front end and make sure everything is good to go for us. We have phone number at the top, address at the top, connect with us with social media links up in here. We've got our menu, which has this nice little drop down, fly out kind of thing happening here. Cool. As I make the browser narrower, we get right about there. That would be tablet, right? You notice how like some of the stuff doesn't look very good as you resize it. I wouldn't worry about that as a person who's creating the design, because people aren't really going to be resizing their browsers like this all the time. Vast majority of cases, people are leaving their browsers the exact same size while they're searching the web. I wouldn't worry about that, especially since this is like an unconventional, like nobody's screen resolution is this size. No device defaults to this size. So it's not like you're going to get hit with that. But if you're concerned about it, you can manipulate this on a scale basis. You can manipulate this for each individual size device as you want. It's cumbersome, but if it's going to be like one of those things where it's very permanent, I'm going to have this for a while. Well, maybe it's worth your time. I don't know. Maybe it's worth your time. Okay, so we got this, and there we go. There's our tablets kind of thing. Try to ignore this. This is my WordPress admin bar getting in the way. And then there is our next level right about there. And there's our mobile phone. And notice how on the mobile phone, have questions shows up. It's right at the break point where become independent breaks. So I can make this browser too narrow, right? Like I said, this is back to where there's no device at this scale, right? So right about become independent, right there. So there we go. This is probably still a little bit of spacing we can do here to mess this up. We can also adjust the text if we want to, and there's some things we can still do to tweak that. But in general, that's what we're looking at. So if you want to see what this page looks like yourself on your mobile phone, you can just check out and see what it looks like on your phone. You can visit xpro.priormedia.net, and you can see this exact demo page that I've been making for this video series. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Hope this helps people. Hope this gets people more in tune and sort of teaches them how to use some tools that otherwise they may not have known how to use or known that it existed. This is X Pro. It is not the X theme. If you purchase the X theme, before X Pro was released, you have an existing license for X that can be upgraded to X Pro for free. But if you're going to do that and you're going to upgrade your existing sites to X, I highly recommend you get some help with it, or you read up on the documentation thoroughly on how to do it, or you contact me and get some help with it, whatever it is. I really highly recommend you do that because it has a tendency to mess things up. It's not just a one-click done experience. There are some things you have to consider. Always have a backup. I'm going to reiterate this constantly now. Always have a backup. Always have a backup before you do anything with updating, especially if you're updating to a new platform like this. And if you're going to do it, if you have the ability to, some hosts have the ability to do this, have a staging environment and stage your live site in a new place and then worry about trying to upgrade to it to see how it works so that you don't mess up your live website. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say. We're approaching a half hour now, so I'm going to leave this video where it is. If this was helpful, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want more tutorials and things like that. This channel admittedly does do more gaming content than tutorial WordPress content, but almost everything I do with my business on a daily basis, which is the logo that you've had drilled into your eyes in these last two videos, everything I do on my business end is media production and website production. So if you need help with this, you can click the big Learn More button right here on this link, xpro.priormedia.net, or the Learn More button here, or the C playlist probably isn't going to help you. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking now. Thanks for watching. It's been a half hour. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it teaches you something, and I'll see you next time. Bye.